What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to talk about the Romancing Festival Asellus banner. This will be a full review. This banner brings Asellus an intelligence debuffer, buff breaker, and even long run damage dealer. We have Princess Rei, a will debuffer with access to status elements, and Mesarthim, a AoE healer that can increase the damage of the party. Well, this banner offers some value to some people, but we'll discuss each character individually, starting with Asellus. We have 8 different versions of Asellus in the game right now, with the first one coming from the tower and being the only one that's easy to acquire. But since the last update, we can get the 4 other styles on off banner. Well, this was a White Day style alongside the second S style. Will give you Rising Nova, so you can amplify to Rising Nova Plus to apply buff break on bosses. This, facing the final battle, gives her Mirage Step, then Floats My Boat was a Perfector style that just increased its status. And we got a Global X style that also focused on intelligence debuffs. Then the Mystic version, New Lord of the Chateau, and now the current New Year's called Happiness Ahead. I think we can compare the Happiness Ahead against the new Lord of Chateau, since they are the most recent ones. Well, some things didn't change much. From SDR, we went from 104 to 107%. Endurance was increased just a few because she is always fragile on endurance. Dexterity was decreased, and this can be a problem in very hard challenges. I'll talk more about that later. Her agility was decreased because she needed extra status in other regards. Her intelligence is an example. In JP, she had even inferior intelligence. Now she gets 101%. That will be enough to debuff most content in the game, save for extreme hard challenges. Her will is now 90%, is the highest one so far, and it makes total sense because she cannot be inflicted with ailments or debuffs if she's wanting to debuff a boss. Her love and charisma don't matter too much, so let's enter the style. We have double arrows for will, since you know she has a focus on this, and 1 arrow for STR, just so that she can get some damage. But bonuses go also for agility. She needs to go first before your boss attacks to the buff so that you receive less damage, right? Well, with 101% intelligence, she will have mostly enough intelligence to rebuff, but in very hard challenges, 70% dexterity may not be enough to even hit. So you may need a buffer to help out Asellus. The best one will be Itoken because he has a fast buff, buffs both STR and dexterity and intelligence, but Metrarch with Pin of Peace or Victory will also help Asellus out. Depending on the content, she may be able to do it by herself. Depending on the content, she may need extra help. Well, if you want to chase even higher intelligence caps, you need her summer style, as you can see here, and higher STR caps, you will need the mystic style. This style does not fully replace the mystic one, and I'll explain why, but also gives some interchanging inheritances that make sense. Moving on, for passives we have Conviction, that gives her 2 BP on the start of a battle and also 1 BP on the end of a turn. This is the same type of passive that the latest version of Metrarch has, so premium. The second one is called Survival Instinct. On the start of a turn, she has a 25% chance to enter a fully evasion stance that lasts for 1 turn, and any type of damage will be negated, and even ailments, and she will also recover her HP by around 800. Then the last passive is High Protect Tension, increasing damage output by 20%, and when she's attacked, damage will be reduced by 30%. We talked about High Protect Tension many times in the last reviews because this is important in boss fights since the damage is just increasing, and having High Protect Tension will allow you to survive much better. But her endurance is still pretty low. Depending on the content, if the enemy uses too many physical attacks and you are not buffing endurance, she may still take big damage. But with High Protect Tension, this is at least lessened out. Now, we only have 20% damage passive. This is where I said that this is not exactly the definitive version, because remember, Mystic version has access to 60% damage increase, but at the cost of losing 3 LP on the start of battle. This can be risky in content where bosses do LP damage, so Asellus, if loses 3 LP, cannot even be revived again. And this Asellus also have a chance to buff all of her status Normally, she will do more damage, but we'll need to talk more about that later as well. Moving on, the first skill is called Gleaming Slash. This is a 0 BP attack that was changing in global that hits for E power, 8 mod and slash damage, just a little better than a normal attack, and will buff her STR by up to 25% on max level. Very nice because she didn't have any skill to increase STR, now she has access to and she's not using some of her attacks, she's just buffing her damage. Well, and Gleaming Slash can also be inherited into the Mystic version, so that you can buff your STR before you start countering. Remember, this one has higher damage passives and even chance to buff her status again. Then the second skill is called Plume Dance. For 6 BP, you have a full AoE attack with C power and 17 mod that deals slash damage. Pretty okay for the damage, right? But it also has a chance to debuff intelligence by 20%. It says a chance, it still relies on her intelligence and even her dexterity to hit the enemy. So 6 BP seems higher than most other debuffers, yes indeed, but 20% debuff is also higher. She can use this 4 times in a row by herself, but after that she has to skip some turns without debuffing. If the fight does not last for too long, well, this is good enough, you have a better start, but if it doesn't, you have to rely on an inheritance that comes from her facing the final battle version. We have Mirage Step that now can be amplified into Mirage Step Plus, becoming a 3 BP attack that has the power, well, the power is not that important, and has a chance to debuff intelligence by up to 15% on max level. So after 4 usages of the newest attack, you revert to Mirage Step, and then because you spend 3 BP and you gain 4, you actually have 1 BP extra till you can use Plume Dance again, keeping up with infinite intelligence debuffs. But like I said, sometimes we may need extra help to increase her intelligence or even accuracy to land these debuffs, but if you are on the perfect scenario, this will help a lot, and she can carry being the only intelligence debuffer in the fight, and since she's a full AoEer, there will be scenarios where we have plenty of enemies where this works, right? But usually we only need to use against one enemy, but this gives her an edge against the competition since she goes full AoE. Now the next attack is called New Year's Start. For 12 BP, we have a triple S attack that deals only slash damage and grants 3 different effects. Morale up, large, guard up, large, and recovers HP by around 700 or so. First of all, both morale up and guard up have large effects, that means 35% for each, and they last for 4 turns. Morale up being 35 means that she already has 20 here. So 20 plus 35 makes her get close to the Mystic version, right? And she has High Protect Tension, decreasing damage by 30, 30 plus 35 reduction in damage. So pretty offensive and defensive skill, and even heals, right? Since she gets 4 BP per turn, means that you can open with New Year's Start, and then after that, you use Gleaming Slash 2 times, and then use New Year's Start again, keeping the whole cycle of having morale up and guard up together. And you need to use this in this exact way, because, well, when you use this skill, you get the morale up and guard up, but you lose the same turn. So you have to use 2 Gleaming Slash, and then on turn 4, where it should weird off on the end of a turn, you cast this again in order to benefit from the morale up and get a bigger damage on the New Year's Start, and then keep the cycle infinite. That's why it lasts for 4 turns and not 3. So on boss fights, she will actually do pretty decent damage just by cycling this, and also will be very defensive. Sometimes we want extra damage with someone like Leon that also covers slash somehow, but she is much safer even if the fight takes too long. It's an alternative method to go. It also will work well on raids, because that is, if you don't want to die quick, she just keeps pretty high damage while also defending well against damage and recovering HP even. So it's 2 different setups here, intelligence debuffer and a damage dealer. But there's more, but you need to have some sort of inheritances. The second most important one being the Rising Nova. This one here, it's easy to acquire now because this style is an off-banner and it's only S, so it appears most of the time. Rising Nova is a 9 BP attack that has slash and hit, nice because it adds one element, and if the attack lands, it will remove all buffs from an enemy. There are bosses that attack like 3 times in a row, and each time they attack, they buff an offensive status. There are also bosses that each time you attack them, they buff an offensive status. Well, they are appearing more now than before, and this is sometimes required to win the fight. So having Rising Nova Plus is nice. There are older characters that can also use this, like Rick. Rick is free, and there's 2 welfare versions of him, and you can choose which one will carry. This skill comes from the first welfare, and you have to amplify. There's also Vampire Lady. Global X style also came with Rising Nova Plus. This is a physical version. We also have Dark Wash that was released alongside the Global X version of Barbara, that it's now also available on many versions of Rock Bouquet because it comes from an S inheritance, and also can be found on Rouge, especially his latest style is a very good one to use, but you need to get from the S version. And the last one is Red Mage. Red Mage can also do, and Red Mage is actually a very good contender as almost same results since he has Dark Wash Plus, but he sometimes gets 5 EP per turn, sometimes 4. That means that usually every 2 turns he can use Dark Wash Plus. Every 2 turns is kinda how often you'll be able to use it, because we start with 12, so we have a head start. We use 9, and then we get 4 EP per turn. That means that most of the time you can use Rising Nova Plus every 2 turns, reducing the damage capabilities of your boss and surviving to lead to the victory. Rising Nova Plus with Mystic Asellus is already good enough. It was the best one in my opinion. She has a passive that triggers 25% of the time and gives her 3 BP. That means that you get 3 BP every 4 turns, guaranteeing 4 BP in 4 turns with the latest style. It's actually much better in my opinion, because you can rely on this. But it's not that far when you are using Mystic Asellus, and even if you don't get the trigger, you can just restart the fight. Boss fights are kinda hair, right? We only need to clear once. So I don't think that just because of the Rising Nova we see a very big upgrade just by having 4 BP. But if you didn't have Mystic Asellus, now it really makes some difference to summon for this version, because you can easily acquire Rising Nova Plus, and she kinda covers also the intelligence buff part most of the time. So without Mystic Asellus, this one gives more value. If you already have Mystic Asellus, this doesn't mean that you really need to go for this upgrade, but it is an upgrade. Another thing that you can do is inherit Azura's Strife. For 11 BP you get a triple S attack with Slash and Blunt. Well, Blunt is different. Gives critical to human, and the user enters a defensive counter stance. And this is the best defensive version of Asellus. She receives less damage and can use on turn 1. The counter is Slash and has a chance to instant kill. Because she has 100% intelligence, she can actually instant kill. Not many instances where this is actually really useful, but it's something to consider. Because of turn 1 utility, it increases the chance of being more useful. I use it as Azure Strife against someone like Ludwig, and depending on the situations, if she has good sustain, and remember, 4 EP per turn, she has Azure Strife every 3 turns. In another inheritance, you can use Azura's Gale. This is an 8 PP full AoE attack that deals slash and shadow damage with B power 21. To be honest, this is not so good because, well, in the end it's even a little weaker than Mirage Blade Plus that you can find in someone like Rick, for example, or Rei Mesarthim. See, 22, but it adds the shadow element, may help in some scenarios. And Mirage Blade is something that we also find in her summer style. It's already even amplified. You can use 2 times in a row if you want. There are some farming scenarios where you can bring 2 Mirage Blade Plus users and they will be able to finish like in the current event. So you bring 3 trainees, very nice. And then we have Phantom Blade as well. This skill here is interesting. It's a fast attack that already debuffs intelligence by 15% on max level, and she enters an evasion counter stance. That means that she does not take damage, and she will counter attack with Mirage Step. This was useful here and there, but I have to say that I have mixed feelings about it. When you want to debuff intelligence, that means that usually the enemy either have status effects or it's using spells. Spells are indirect attacks, so you will not counter these indirect attacks. You need at least minions in the battle to use direct attacks against you so that you can counter those and debuff intelligence. Will work depending on the scenarios, but it's a nice thing to have. And for the last inheritances, you can bring Flash Triple Trust from her Perfector style and use it 2 times in a row, but I believe this is more for when you are running an event where you have 1 boss in each wave, so she contributes with Slash and Pierce. And Yosia is not so good anymore. This has a very low speed, and 10 BP for 8 powered attacks are not that interesting anymore. And after using Yosia, at least she can use the Bloom Dance, but I believe Mirage Blade plus 2 times in a row will be better most of the time. So as you can see, Asellus is a character with plenty of different utilities. Even without inheritance, she can be an intelligence debuffer, boss specialist for long fights, or even for raids. And if you have inheritances, you can use plenty of different setups. But let me tell you, if you have Mystic Asellus, you are not losing too much if you are skipping the New Year's version. Why? Because this one is already okay, even if you need to buff her status here and there to reach the same potential. If you have very good RNG, buffing her status will also decrease part of the damage, although the newest one will work much better when looking into the far future. And there are better intelligence debuffers in the game. And more reliable is Monica, because, well, she has this Princess Hope passive that increases her dexterity and intelligence before she even attacks, and after that, she buffs dexterity and intelligence with each hit, reaching very high values for both status, highest accuracy, and highest chance to debuff. Besides Monica, you have Udon and even Zosma as Mirage Staff users, but they are not so reliable as well. I have to say that in the near future we'll get this character here, that's called Darius. And in JP he doesn't have such a high intelligence, only 74%, but they may change this for global, and he can use this attack called Swivel Wheel. And it debuffs intelligence by 20%, and he gets 5 EP per turn. He can keep up the 20% debuff at all turns. Since he's a new DX exclusive, I'm pretty sure they are gonna buff him, and if you don't want to chase this Asellus because you don't have gens, at least you have another chance in the future. With all that said, I have to say this Asellus deserves an SS plus grade in our tier list, being very high as a utility character that brings a lot with just 1 style, or even more if you carry inheritances. Now, as an information, this is the last sword style of Asellus so far. She has 2 other ones. They use Happiers. This one here is pretty tanky. She has cover, you use a skill that gives her cover and also increase her resistance. And there's also instant kill attacks. She has a debuff. It's a very interesting style that many people will summon for because she comes in a banner that is Valentine themed, and there is a buffer version of Princess White Rose. And the other version of her is pretty recent on JP, and it's a very strong damage dealer trying to replace strategies where you would use Leon. You may try to use Asellus instead. I believe that, as they did with Pink Tiger in Global, they may change the status so to increase her STR to make better inheritance options, because she has a much bigger focus on dexterity than STR, and inheritances will underperform when compared to other styles that focus on a single element like Final Emperor, switching between spears and great swords, but both are STR based. And if you don't get her as a buff breaker, although I must say that she is right now the best buff breaker in the game, there is an upcoming banner that will bring Anya, and she is useful both in boss fights and in farming scenarios. She has access to a 6 BP spell that applies attack down, so the enemy will do less damage for that particular turn. It's not fast on JP, I don't know if they will change, and it will also buff break the boss. That means that she can keep it up for every 2 turns since it's only 6 BP. Very nice in very hard challenges, although she does different types of damage, she will be useful in all types of scenarios, and she also has a future with a more tanky style that will come much later in the future. And the next character is Rei. We have 4 different styles of Rei in the game. This S style is Platinum, then we got the first limited This Is Not a Game, then a Christmas one called A Bustling Night, and now the current A New Year at Last. Well, let's compare the last 2 styles. We have similar STR, lower endurance, dexterity is bigger, don't know why, agility is 99, now very high, and her intelligence was buffed to 170. This is the highest value we have right now in the global, alongside a good agility, means that she will hardly if ever miss for the current game. We have much higher will with 102%, and love and charisma don't matter too much. Well, we have 1 arrow for agility, double arrows for intelligence, that's good here at least, and she has bonuses for intelligence and will. That means that she's better used against magical attacks than against physical, but will also work depending on the length of the fight. If you want to get other stuff, you can use her Christmas style to find double arrows on will, or you can find double arrows on intelligence in the first limited one. Moving on for passives, we have Life Tenacity. Attack damage increases by 15% at all times. When her HP is not full, attack damage increases by another 10%, and damage will be reduced by 10%. Yeah, she doesn't want to stay on full HP. And then on the end of a turn, if she is dead, she will revive with a small heal. That should be around 700 or so. So, pretty similar to Eagle Maul passive, where she just keeps reviving. And since Princess Rei is similar, she's also a debuffer and inflictor, this kinda makes sense. In fights where the enemies keep doing big damage, you are trying to apply something like Paralyze or some sort of offensive status buff. Then the second passive is called Breath of Invigoration. When she attacks, she recovers BP and HP by around 150. I don't understand why she's recovering HP, because she will just get back to full HP and this will remove 2 passives, but well, I don't know. Then the last one is High Protect Tension, we talked so much about it, 20% damage increase, and reduces damage taken by 30%, so we have at least 35% increasing damage at all times, and sometimes 45% increasing damage at all times. Well, she's not a damage dealer, and I do believe that the past Christmas style will do much more, because she just buffs her intelligence every turn. In long fights, she does more damage, but it's not as defensive because of the lack of having high protect tension. She also revives, but with very small HP, around 150, so this is at least better here. And she gets 4 BP, whereas the past one only has access to 3 BP per turn. An improvement, but on all regards. Now moving for our skills, we have Tiger's Cat, 1 BP single target attack with Shadow and Blunt that has a chance to buff will by 15% on max level. Good thing, because we have very good accuracy, and only 1 BP means that she will never ever have to use normal attacks. Hence why I don't understand why they increased her dexterity, because normal attacks from mages use dexterity, but she does not need. And she is a Shadow and Blunt specialist. All of her attacks have these 2 elements. The second one, called Mystic Tiger Play, a single target attack with SS power pretty close to triple S, and also has a chance to buff will by 20% this time. You see that we are only debuffing but not afflicting any ailment. She was all about ailment with each one of her attacks in the past, so this kind of changes her gameplay. The good thing, it adds double elements. Then the third attack is called Tiger Cat Kemari. It's a full AoE attack with 10 BP, A power, Shadow and Blunt again. When the attack lands, has a chance to buff will by 15%. When the attack lands, also has a medium chance to apply Confusion. Well, nice, because she's already debuffing. On the order here says that it debuffs will first. I don't know if it will affect on the same turn, but even if it doesn't, you can bring Princess Rei to debuff enemies will, and if she doesn't apply Confusion herself, she does not need to be your main Inflictor. You can bring another one, and this other character will act after Rei, and because she debuffed Will, you have a bigger chance to apply Confusion or any other sort of ailment. So she is a debuff specialist that can also inflict at least Confusion herself. As a Will debuffer, we have to compare her to Red Mage in a way, because Red Mage is pretty recent and he's the best Will debuffer in the game. He gets access to 4 BP per turn when he attacks, and sometimes he attacks 2 times with a chase, and means that sometimes 5 BP, sometimes 4 BP, and he will debuff Will between 15% or 25%. He also has a very nice combination of agility and intelligence. He can also buff break if you want. He can also inflict confusion after debuffing. So they can work well together. It means like you don't need both. One will be good enough. There's also Ruby, that is yet another very good will debuffer, because she has a 50% chance of debuffing the enemy's will by 15%. So when she's using the Fire Hat attack from her S style, she can sometimes debuff 30% in a turn. So Rei is not the best one on what she's doing, but she brings utility, because she can debuff will and then choose an ailment later to inflict. Well, let's check her past styles. The Christmas style brings her some utility, like Black Cat brings low chance to inflict confusion, but it's only 3 BP, means she can keep trying to inflict. She has high agility and intelligence. If she inflicts confusion right on start, it can save you from some problems, but more on tower and challenges. One very good thing is Cat's Play. This is a 6 BP attack, that means that she can use this 3 times in a row, and it brings stun chance even though it's low. She has very high status, and if the enemies don't have resistance, you'll be able to stun them 3 times in a row. Will be interesting in challenges, but let me tell you, although it looks very nice, I hardly use Princess Rei, even though I have all her past styles. They don't create content where you need to use these things, but it's just something like I needed to use every 3 or 4 months, but I probably could find another alternative just to explain. And on the stun department, we also have Shira, that can at least stun 2 times in a row by use of the newest version, inheriting from the first limited with Hymn of the Night Wind. So at least for AoE, we have at least one alternative. And from the first style, you have Jackal, has medium chance to inflict poison, and from the S style, you have medium chance to inflict petrification, or medium chance to apply sleep. There's also confusion here on the S style if you don't have the Christmas version. So plenty of different effects can be used here and there. I cannot say when it will be useful, but it's nice to have a character with plenty of different ailments. Right now we have many other characters that can apply these ailments in different weapon types. One thing we need to say is that there will be a future remembrance battle where you can apply confusion or charm in order to make the fight easier. So the confusion chance here on her S3 will be very nice, because it also debuffs will help you out there. But now, if we're talking only about the confusion effect, can be found in many characters right now. Like, we have the Yudon banner with Rastaban, and he can use from his S style Ultrasonic Wave. This is also something that you can find in Saruin, another great sword user that has it from his S style. We can also find this on Creator. Creator can use it easily with his newest style, Flames of Judgment, or by inheriting Repent. Another one that we just got was Vagnus, and Vagnus can confuse by inheritance of his past style with Butterfly Blades. So plenty of different options, but once again, you can use one of them for different remembrance battles that are locked into different weapon types. There are no future versions of Princess Rei, so what you see right now is everything she has to offer, but there may be some future styles, just not in the near future. And finally, because Rei is actually not an important character to summon for, she only receives a SS- grade in our tier list. Now let's move to the last character, Mesarthim. There are 4 different versions of Mesarthim in the game. The top one is a welfare style, then there is a premium called a hate human stench, and then prayers to my savior from a Christmas celebration, and now luck for the new year, the last version, both in global and on JP. Well, now she carries plenty of different elements. We should compare this version to the Christmas. Look, we got a big increase in endurance, dexterity barely changed, doesn't matter. Her agility went from 80 to 105, that's insane. Intelligence went from 96 to 116, that's a big jump as well. Will is almost the same. Love and charisma are similar, but the charisma is lower because the other one is a charm specialist. Well, Mesarthim comes with double arrows on intelligence and 1 arrow for love because she heals and she actually heals pretty well. We have a very nice combination of agility and intelligence. A mage with 105 is hard to find, and her endurance and will are pretty similar. That means that she takes similar damage from magical and physical, does not have a specialty, but that's not exactly that much of a bad thing. And if you want to find her status, you can use the welfare for agility, the first limited for endurance, and the Christmas one for will. Okay. Now for passives, the first one is called Strengthened Iron Wall 3. When attacked, damage will be reduced by 10% and she starts the fight with 13 DP. I have to say that this passive defines Mesarthim. We wanted high protect tension, we got with the other 2 characters, because that will decrease damage even further. But 10% is all that she has, but this 13 DP will also allow her to do so much stuff that we need to talk about later. The second one is called Energizing Breath 1. On the start of a turn, she gets a buff to intelligence of 15% and recovers 1 BP. Nice because she does not need to attack. When farming, sometimes you want to skip 1 turn, but she still gets that good BP. The last passive is Fired Up 6, increasing damage by 30%. This one could have been so many different things to make Mesarthim better, but they wanted to make her offensive as well. What can I say? The 4 skills we have Sun Shower, a 4 BP AoE attack with cold and sun damage that will also recover all surviving allies HP by around 170s. Well, this is very useful, right? It is. But why is she being released just so close to one character that we want and probably already have? Final Impress Christmas style comes with Holy Moon, a 2 BP AoE attack that also heals all surviving allies. And one thing, she can cast the shield and then after that heals 3 times in a row. And you can also just bring the heal to the Global X style and then heal wherever you want and then use a shield when you want. And why am I comparing? Because in the end, you really hardly will need both characters in the same fight. Although they have very distinct differences, when you want just the AoE heal, you usually want one specialist for this, because we use another character as well, and that is usually Rag Robin. Rag Robin is a tank that has access to Steelblade Phoenix, an attack that heals around 800 every 3 turns. And then you can buff Will and Love with Matriarch Pin of Peace, or even bring in a token, and eventually this reaches for 1.2k heal every 3 turns. This is your main healer. Mesarthim is a secondary healer most of the time, just like Impress will be, just like even Spellgrow is. Spellgrow was the first one that got this full AoE heal without spending LP that could be cast every turn with telekinesis. But Spellgrow does have high protect tension, so she takes less damage. She's also very offensive with her intelligence buffs and strong attack. One good thing is that they have different elemental types and resistances here and there, so you can choose depending on the content. But like I said, 90% of the time you'll probably be bringing Impress. But there's one big difference between Mesarthim and the competition. She has access to Ring of Life. Well, this is a full AoE heal that uses LP, and you can use only 2 times in the fight, but the heal is very strong. It heals around 1.6 thousand on max rank, and will allow you to recover from very low HP to reach close to max, and depending on the situations, let's say that your Poké got paralyzed, or I don't know, your Poké does not have enough VP and you need a big heal in that specific moment. Usually we bring Matriarch 4 and use her shield with the heal, yes, but this also comes with a problem. She won't be buffing in that turn where she uses that shield with the heal. So Mesarthim can be there and heal you without you need to stop buffing with Matriarch. See what I'm going for? She has a reason to exist because of this inheritance, making her a good idea to bring when combined with strategies that buffs, love, and charisma. You can even use her also on Tortoise formation, and this will be useful. The only problem is that she only has 10% damage reduction to herself. Her endurance and will are not bad, but are also not great either. So depending on the situations, if you are buffing with other characters, like I said, Matriarch, she's buffing will, maybe it will be enough to reduce the incoming damage, and having this trick of being able to use Ring of Life when you desperately need is actually a very good thing. That justifies the character. But now let's move on. The second skill is called Deus Blizzard, and this one is an old attack from Liz. It's a 7 VP attack with C power, and it boosts morale up to the party for 15% more damage that lasts for 2 turns. Exactly made for farming, and she can use this 3 times in a row. More for story farming because 3 waves are mostly found on story but not on main events. Now the last one is called Treasure Ship, and this uses 13 BP. It's cold and blunt and will grant all surviving allies an attack boost. In JP says it's 20, but in global it's usually 30% increase. Well, she can use this on start because she starts with 13 BP, so it's a fast attack as well. Means that she goes first. She buffs her intelligence before she attacks. She already has 30% increase in damage. This will do good damage when farming, and because it boosts the damage of other characters, and attack boost can even stack with morale up, this has some utility. Let's say it's one event with only 1 wave, you bring her, do damage for 2 different elements, increase the damage of the second character that will fail to kill the wave by himself, but with the increasing damage he manages. So very nice. The C is a little too high with 13 BP, right? I understand why they did this. And also, let's say you are in a boss fight and she starts with 13. You don't need to heal on turn 1, so you just do a normal attack. Then you have 17, right? Nice. Then let's say you use some shower for most of the time, and then there is a moment where you are seeing your victory in overdrive on turn 10, for example. Then what do? You go and use Deus Blizzard the turn before you reach overdrive, right? And then when you reach overdrive, you use Treasure Ship. Why? Because you just stacked morale up in attack boost. And let's say you have Leon that was charging the gun, reaching that moment to kill, you increase his damage output even further to kind of break their soul to kill a boss before something crazy happens. I know, looks like a novelty, but it kind of works, right? So it's a strategy that is different from Impress and different from Spellgirl. It's much more offensive. Very nice. And another thing, just so we are discussing BP, Ring of Life uses 8 BP, right? She can use Ring of Life 2 times in a fight whenever she decides to. She does not need to use any normal attack to save VP because she starts with 13, and after you use 1 Ring of Life you get 4, meaning 17, right? It's enough for 2 casts of the spell. But not just that, she can also inherit other stuff. From her Christmas style there is Squeeze, a 7 VP attack that hits 2 times with C power. Well, it's not that strong by itself, But because you can cast 3 times in a row in something like raids, it will be very nice to reach high damage. You can also open with the treasure ship attack, and then after that you can use Ice Javelin Plus, so you have full AoE cycles, and this one even debuffs Endurance. There is also Tundra Veil, a full AoE cold attack that can inflict charm with medium chance. There will be a Remembrance battle where you can inflict charm to make the fight much easier, so nice to have. You can also go for the first limited style and inherit Maelstrom. You can use this on turn 1 for big opening damage, or on her welfare style you can inherit Bubble Pop. She becomes the best stun inflictor in the game because she buffs intelligence before she attacks, and this skill already has high chance to stun. And the last inheritance is Diamond Dust that you can amplify and use 2 times in a row for farming. So see, there's so many different usages for this Mesarthim. You kinda need inheritance, but let me tell you, if you have at least the one with the Ring of Life, I give this character a triple S award because of being useful in different scenarios, being a little unique, and having at least one hat trick to help out when you need to heal and you don't have Steelblade Light or Steelblade Phoenix in that particular moment in a fight. But even giving her a triple S grade, I have to say that you can still skip her. If you already have Impress, like I said, 90% of the time you're gonna use her instead of Mesarthim, so you have to evaluate if a character adds enough to justify pulling. But if you don't want to summon for Mesarthim because you don't have gens or don't want, there is an upcoming character in the near future, the second style of Matcha, that will be released in the Lunar New Year, and she has interesting kit. Skill number 3 hits 2 times and recovers 2 times. Around same heals as Mesarthim, for example. But it needs 9 BP and she only gets 3 BP per turn, meaning that she skips 1 turn here and there, but she has a passive that can also heal. They may change this and make her a constant healer, and added with the passive chance to heal, she offers a little different kit, but can also replace most of the time. With all that said, well, let's get back to the banner image. I like this banner because these characters are popular. Asellus and Mesarthim have clear designs, you can see where they are useful or not. Princess Rei is good and all, but I don't see many times using her, so if you want the characters and you like them, go for Mesarthim and Asellus based on what you are missing out. If you already have Christmas and Prez, maybe Asellus will add more. If you don't, or if you want more AoE heal options, go for Mesarthim first and then Asellus. Princess Rei can be skipped since she doesn't offer all that much, even if you have her past inheritance. At least that is in my opinion. This banner will receive a silver award because of these 2 good characters, but that is my opinions. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you still haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. Hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.